If you've ever purchased a DVD of WWE's, you're quite familiar with the unskippable "Don't try this" adverts that precede the title screens. Despite being well-trained, highly skilled performers who trust their peers to do right by their health and safety inside of the ring, accidents do happen. Whether it's a high-risk move off or over the ropes, or even a routine maneuver dependent on the cooperation of two, the law of averages does catch up to the wrestlers, and injuries are simply a part of the game. For this list, we will focus on one specific bit of physical trauma: the knockout blow. So many elbows, knees, feet and fists go flying during the course of a worked match, and so many bumps and falls help compose said matches that once in a while somebody gets their bell rung legitimately. Those "don't try this" PSAs are sobering highlight reels of what could happen in the blink of an eye, no matter how skilled and experienced the wrestlers may be. The list ahead will feature a few examples that were depicted in those disclaimers, and a few you might not have known about. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 times wrestlers were legitimately knocked out. Join us! Number 10. DRAGGIN. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more consummate pro than Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, a wrestler possessing both cat-like reflexes and near-flawless technical mastery. Surely a wrestler of Steamboat's highest caliber could be trusted to play victim for a risky move, but his attacker, Jake the Snake Roberts, had his reservations. The angle called for Roberts to DDT Steamboat on the bare concrete floor at a Saturday night's main event taping in the spring of 1986. Roberts feared he would hurt Steamboat, but the Dragon assured him that he could cushion himself properly just before impact. And because we're talking about it on this list, you've probably guessed that Steamboat's assurance ended up rather unfounded. Roberts performed the move with his usual suddenness, and Steamboat's head bonks the floor with a frightening thud, knocking him unconscious. Roberts later described the sound as being similar to a watermelon bursting, and lamented having to pick up the completely deadweight Dragon in order to continue the angle. Number 9. Surface to air. Timing is everything. Whether you're looking for a job, breaking news to somebody, or executing an elaborate pro wrestling stunt. Take Shane McMahon at the 2016 Survivor Series and the move that was to have facilitated his elimination from the 5-on-5 men's match. McMahon was to have performed his signature coast-to-coast dropkick on Roman Reigns, only to be speared out of the air by a rejuvenated Big Dog. McMahon did indeed take a hearty spear from Reigns, though to say the timing could have been a wee bit better is an understatement. Either McMahon propelled too early, or Reigns a hair too late, because the collision was less than ideal. Reigns caught Shane far too high, and the best in the world was left staring wall-eyed into the void after the landing. McMahon's equilibrium was so off-kilter that he didn't have the wherewithal to stay down for the pin, wriggling out of the fall almost subconsciously. The referee quickly X'd him out of the match, rather than have Reigns force the Foggy Boy Wonder to stay down for the pin. Number 8. I was the table. In 20 years as a professional wrestler, and for many more previous as a freestyle wrestling prodigy, it took so much to keep Kurt Angle from fulfilling his obligations of his physical vocations. Torn muscles, spinal injuries, you name it, Angle's pushed himself through hard-to-fathom barriers while still delivering instant classics in spite of his hindrances. At SummerSlam 2000, Angle found himself in that very scenario, having to work through traumatic injury, one sustained in the match's preamble. Angle met Triple H and WWE Champion The Rock in a triple threat match for the belt, and before Rock can even make his entrance, Angle brawled with Helmsley around ringside. When Triple H attempted to pedigree Angle through one of the announce tables, the structure prematurely gave way, and the two wrestlers plummeted to the floor rather harshly. Angle was concussed from the impact, sat out of the match for an extended spell, and admitted he had to rely on instructions from the others, including Stephanie at ringside, in order to get through the bout. Number 7. Quelled RIOTT. This one made more than a few headlines, not only for the injury taking place, but for an apparent lack of proper protocol taken in the aftermath. On an episode of Raw in September 2018, the RIOTT squad took on the Bella Twins and Natalya in what amounted to basic build for both Super Showdown and Evolution the following month. Brie Bella took the heat for the spot that would injure Liv Morgan. As Brie performed the sharp kicks that are a staple of husband Daniel Bryan's arsenal, she mistimed a few of the strikes and kicked Morgan square in the head, knocking her out. During the confusion, the match continued on, and Morgan, after regaining consciousness, reinserted herself into the action, taking part in a triple suplex spot. Neither the referee nor any presiding physician stopped the match, or at least tried to keep her out of it, which isn't a good look. Morgan was formally diagnosed with a concussion as a result of the errant kicks. Number 6. Stone Cold Stunned. Steve Austin's history at SummerSlam has been a combination of high-profile title matches along with significant pains. None were as life-altering as the neck-crunching piledriver he endured from Owen Hart at the 1997 show, nearly ending his career in the blink of an eye. 1 year later, Austin was in a better place, defending the WWE Championship against The Undertaker in the culmination of the summer-long Highway to Hell storyline. It's kind of a blink and you may miss it moment, but there's a brief period where Austin totally loses his bearings, if only for a short spell. Stone Cold charges off the ropes and kicks a hunched Undertaker, causing the challenger to stand up suddenly. On the upswing, Undertaker's head cracks Austin in the chin, knocking him through a loop temporarily. Austin came around soon enough to where he could continue wrestling, and to most observers, nothing was amiss. Number 5. Thinking on his feet. As this list has demonstrated, sometimes it's the most routine of moments in a match that can compromise a wrestler's health and well-being. In this example, a wrestler ends up in a serious daze as a result of a body slam that didn't go quite right, and it was his tag team partner who noticed something was off. William Regal took said slam from Kane during a tag team title match at 2003's No Way Out, and if not for some quick thinking, an unplanned title change may have occurred. Kane's pinfall attempt on Regal was broken up by Lance Storm, and good thing because Regal wasn't in any condition to roll his shoulder up in time. Later in the match, while in position to catch Rob Van Dam off a top rope move, Storm subtly but noticeably pushed Regal away, not wanting his hazy-minded partner to have any part of the complex spot, instead breaking RVD's fall alone. Either Van Dam could have inadvertently hurt Regal worse, or Regal's inability to catch properly in his state could have hurt Van Dam, so that's quite the noble heads up from Storm. Number 4. Main event murkiness. Getting to headline WrestleMania is something a wrestler would never forget, unless you're The Miz. As reigning WWE champion, Mike Mizanin went on last at WrestleMania 27 against John Cena, and although the two were essentially background fodder for The Rock's posing session at the end, at least Miz got his big moment, including a main event victory. It's on film forever, and thank God if you're The Miz. During a spot that resulted in a brief double countout, Cena tackled Miz over a railing, and the back of Miz's head bounces off the concrete floor like a tennis ball. Miz had said his memories of the match are a bit diminished, and looking at his eyes during the restart portion of the match, you can see he's a bit off. He did manage to finish the match, which thankfully wasn't long after guest host Rock restarted it. Number 3. A dangerous drop. Candice Michelle was among various WWE stars that have had their painful moments put to use in those disclaimer videos warning fans not to replicate the moves they see on TV. Her brief moment in those old PSAs is twofold: a horrifying fall to the canvas, followed by a shot of her lying on a stretcher in a neck brace. The incident took place on an episode of Raw in 2007 while wrestling Beth Phoenix for the women's title. As Candice set her feet on the top turnbuckle, Beth hit the ropes, and Candice apparently attempted to use the ropes as a spring to flip herself to the mat. Instead, she didn't get the desired spring and simply plummeted like a satellite dish falling off of your roof. Perhaps not understanding the severity of the injuries, Beth dragged Candice away from the buckles in order to render the pin, a move that posed its own risks given the circumstances. Number 2. Tag. You're out. Watching Daniel Bryan go today as one of the top heels on SmackDown, you might forget that he was forced into over 2 years of retirement due to accumulated head injuries that one Dr. Joseph Maroon would not clear him from. Bryan followed in the footsteps of many junior heavyweight marvels before him, mixing risky dives and bumps with hard-hitting give-and-take strikes in order to justify his place in a world where heavyweights have more of a premium. Bryan suffered one such serious blow to the head in a match with Alberto Del Rio on an episode of SmackDown in August 2011. At some point relatively early in the contest, Del Rio kicks Bryan in the face a bit too snugly, and then had to aid Bryan in the ensuing kickout since his opponent was limper than cooked noodles. Del Rio resorted to keeping Bryan in a hold until he finally came to, at which point Bryan managed to finish the match while stiffing Del Rio hard a few times in return, which Del Rio later admitted he deserved. Number 1. Straight to hell. Mick Foley's list of injuries sustained in the Hell in a Cell match at the 1998 King of the Ring is so numerous that it makes Chris Jericho's moves list look like a gone fishing note. Teeth knocked out, separated shoulder, internal bleeding, enough tack holes to qualify his back as a spaghetti strainer, you name it. If we were to add knocked unconscious to that list, would it surprise you? Though Foley would later admit that there were parts of the match against The Undertaker that were hard to remember, understandably, he was only apparently unconscious after the infamous second fall, when the roof of the cage gave way off the chokeslam. The partition was supposedly not meant to give way, and Foley's back-first descent into the ring put his lights out for roughly 45 seconds. seconds. And Foley was actually quite lucky there. He admits that had he gone up higher for the chokeslam, he likely would have rotated and landed on his head and neck, which would likely have killed him. Thankfully, despite all of the trauma he did sustain, Mick Foley is alive and with us today.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.